Bhavan bhakti mata labhyo durlabha sarvadehinam swarajyasyapi abhimata
Rajasyapi vimata
ekantenatmavit gatihi.
ekantena atmavidgatihi.
My dear Lord, the king in charge of the heavenly kingdom is also desirous of obtaining the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. Similarly, you are the ultimate destination. Of those who identify themselves with you. Aham Brahmasmi. However, it is very difficult for them to attain you. Whereas a devotee can very easily attain your lordship. Purport. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. This indicates that it is very difficult for one to attain the ultimate goal of life and reach the supreme destination, Vaikuntha Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, simply by studying Vedanta philosophy or Vedic literature. However, the highest perfectional stage can be attained by the devotees very easily. That is the meaning of Vedeshu Durlabham, Adurlabham, Atma Bhakto. The same point is confirmed by Lord Shiva in this verse. The Lord is very difficult for the Karma Yogis, Jnana Yogis, and Dhyana Yogis to attain. Those who are Bhakti Yogis, however, have no difficulty at all. In the word Swarajyasya, Swar refers to Swargaloka, the heavenly planet, and Swarajya refers to the ruler of the heavenly planet, Indra. Generally, Karmis desire elevation to heavenly planets. But King Indra desires to become perfect in Bhakti Yoga. Those who identify themselves as Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Supreme Brahman, one with the Absolute Truth, also ultimately desire to attain perfect liberation in the Vaikuntha planets or Goloka Vrindavan. To attain perfect liberation in the Vaikuntha planets or Goloka Vrindavan. In Bhagavad Gita 18:55 it is said, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Thus, if one desires to enter into the spiritual world, he must try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by practicing Bhakti Yoga. Simply by practicing Bhakti Yoga, one can understand the Supreme Lord in truth But without such understanding, one cannot enter the spiritual kingdom. One may be elevated to the heavenly planets, or may realize himself as Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. But that is not the end of realization. One must realize the possession of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Bhakti Yoga. Then a real perfection of life is attained. Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that people may like fruitive results and therefore they may aim towards the heavenly planets. But the king of the heavenly planets is wanting to go back to the spiritual world, the perfection of Bhakti Yoga. It is also explained here that simply identifying oneself with the Lord, Aham Brahmasmi, is not sufficient. The transcendental position of the Lord is realized simply by practicing Bhakti Yoga. It is explained. See, when it comes to the various paths of knowledge, it is explained that okay, simply by practicing karma, yoga, what will one attain? Tainted with the fruitive activity, what is one going to attain? Simply temporary sense gratification. That's all. By practicing yoga, one will attain some mystic powers, which are like play toys, games. Simply by jnana, what does one attain? One attains transcendental knowledge. And simply by transcendental knowledge, what can one attain? One can only attain liberation. But by transcendental, loving, devotional service, one can attain the supreme abode of the Lord. So Bhakti Yoga is very powerful. In the morning we were reading, what a beautiful comparison. The comparison was that okay, one who is bowing down in front of the deities of the Lord and a person who has performed great yagyas and sacrifices. What is the comparison? So Srila Rupa Goswami Pada explains that they cannot be equal. You cannot consider them to be equal. Non may think, oh, you cannot equal. Bowing down in front of the deity of the Lord can never be equal to performing great sacrifices, yagyas. One who is bowing down in front of the deity of the Lord, how can he be compared to one who has performed dozens and hundreds of such sacrifices? Srila Rupa Goswami Pada explains that one who is bowing down in front of the deity of the Lord is much more higher than the performer of the sacrifice. Because one who is bowing down in front of the deity of the Lord with full heart and feelings and in sincere earnestness, as Srila Prabhupada says, sincere earnestness, Such a person who is bowing down in sincere earnestness, such a person, Prabhupada explains that such a person has realized he wants to reciprocate with the Supreme Lord. He has realized the conclusions of the Vedas. He has realized the position of the Lord. Therefore, he is bowing down. So, the position of bowing down before the Lord also, feelingly, with sincere earnestness, is considered as glorified to be superlative to all other levels and cadres of practices. Why? Because bowing down in front of the Lord, bowing down in front of the Lord, that means one has realized the position of the Supreme Lord. Our position becomes fixed when we realize the position of the Supreme Lord. So when we relate to the position of the Supreme Lord, then our position becomes fixed. Otherwise, one's position is wavering. That's what happens with the impersonalist or a Brahmajyoti monger. Aruhya krichena parampadam tatam patanti adho. Just because of want of serving the lotus feet of the Lord, even from the boundary of the material and spiritual worlds, one falls down, not being able to get a stable and permanent shelter. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is explained in this superlative fashion. Or because the process of Bhakti Yoga, one realizes the transcendental position of the Supreme Lord. That leads to eternal fixity. And this can only happen by the revelation of the Lord. Therefore, transcendental loving devotional service is even higher than transcendental knowledge. So in Bhagavatam, it is explained that in the early stages of devotional service, we may require knowledge for stabilizing the mind on Krishna. But as the devotional service matures and fructifies, the devotional service itself is sufficient because the devotional service itself will lead to knowledge. Yeah. No other external knowledge is required, but the devotional service itself leads to knowledge, the vision. That is the point. Text 55. Tam duraradhyam aradhya satamapi durapaya ekant bhaktaya kovanchet padamulam vinabahi. My dear Lord, pure devotional service is even difficult for liberated persons to discharge. But devotional service alone can satisfy you. Who will take to other processes of self realization if he is actually serious about perfection of life? Who will take to other processes of self realization if he is actually serious about the perfection of life? But the word satam refers to transcendentalists. There are three kinds of transcendentalists: the Jnani, the Yogi, and Bhakta. Out of these three, the Bhakta is selected as the most suitable candidate to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is emphasized herein that only one who is outside devotional service would not engage in searching for the lotus feet of the Lord. Foolish people sometimes maintain that God may be attained in any way, either by karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. But it is clearly stated that it is impossible to obtain the mercy of the Lord by any means but bhakti yoga. The word duraradhya is especially significant. It is very difficult to attain the lotus feet of the Lord by any method other than bhakti yoga. Pure devotional service is very difficult even for liberated persons to discharge. Lord Shiva is mentioning. And therefore, Lord Shiva is saying, who is going to who a person, any person who is desirous of liberation, such a person, why will he take to any other process other than the devotional service of the Lord? Why will he take to any other process other than the devotional service of the Lord? Now, this is very beautiful. Why? Because you see, the point is, now the thought may come to us that, okay, this is very now this is a very wonderful verse. This verse is telling, okay, who will take to any other path other than the devotional service? Obviously, Prabhupada explains that there are Gyanis, there are Yogis, there are Bhaktas. The most suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy is the Bhakta, the devotee of the Lord, the Bhakta. Now, you see, the thought may come in our mind that, okay, I am to anyways practicing devotional service. So I am the anyways practicing devotional service. So therefore, it's all perfect, all good for me. So, and anyways practicing devotional service. So here the talk is about, Gyanis and yogis, but I am a devotee of the Lord. So the Gyanis and yogis may be struggling. It may be impossible for the Gyanis and the yogis, but I am not a Gyani and yogi. I'm a devotee of the Lord. So, so this kind of thought process will sometimes come actually, and therefore, I mean, definitely, the process of bhakti yoga is all encouraging process, so one can feel good about what he's practicing. That's all fine. But okay, I'm practicing, I'm fortunate to practice. See, actually a healthy platform is to think that, okay, I'm fortunate to get to understand the rarest of the paths and to be able to practice the most sublime uh the most sublime uh acts of devotional service. So that's a healthy position. So as far as it is a feel good feeling, it's all fine. Encouragement, hopefulness, feel good feeling, that's all fine. But actually, you see what is being talked about. What is being talked about is emphasis. Now, what is being mentioned about is emphasis. So many times, uh, you know, although we are introduced to various aspects of transcendental devotional service, but the point is that we have to take inventory of where is the emphasis of our heart. Where is the emphasis of our heart? That means our heart is prioritizing what in the first place. So it may, so our heart, what is it emphasizing? It may not even be transcendental knowledge, the profile of a Gyani. It may not even be, so it may be some mundane material things. As Bhagwatam talks about, that's like, uh, that's like groping in the darkness, running behind reflections, running behind some temporary glittering reflections. That's all. So the point is that the emphasis of of our hearts decides the categorization uh, of where we fall in. So that's the whole point. The categorization is decided by the emphasis. So it's not that, okay, the Gyanis and the Yogis are, tottering around in a low class platform, and very difficult to attain the Lord. We have to understand, where are we. So the only difference is that, you see, we have, because we are introduced to the highest realm of transcendental devotional service, we have the opportunity to situate ourselves uh, on the hi- on the highest platform, the most perfect platform, the most evolved kind of yogic practices. That is Bhakti Yoga. But as a sadhaka, we have to be very careful about that. Are we steadfast on this level? That's the point. Here, Lord Shiva, in his ecstasy, Lord Shiva is telling, what fool will think of any other activity other than transcendental loving devotional service? So we as a sadhaka have to take inventory of our own minds. That what kind of anxieties our mind is hooked to, how distant it is from transcendental devotional service. That's the point which Lord Shiva is emphasizing. That, okay, there is no need to think of anything else other than transcendental devotional service. There is no need to think and take anxiety for anything else other than transcendental devotional service. Material life and material factors will take their own course. And Bhagavatam explains, anyway, by our intervention, the course does not change. The course of material activities and material affairs remains the same, is it not? So better we don't worry about the material course, and better we worry about the ultimate source, not the material course. Ah, we should worry about the ultimate source. And that's what Lord Shiva is emphasizing here. That yes, other than devotional service, nothing needs to remain the topmost supreme priority. Yatra nirvishtam aranam kritanto nabhimanyate vishwam vidvamsayan virya shaurya visfur jita bhruva. Or simply by expansion of his eyebrows, invincible time personified can immediately vanquish the entire universe. However, Formidable time does not approach the devotee who has taken complete shelter at your lotus feet. Oh, this is so beautiful. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 10.34, it is said that the Lord, in the shape and form of death, destroys all a person's possessions. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. I am the all devouring death. Lord, in the shape of death, takes away everything that is created by the conditioned soul. Everything in this material world is subject to perish in due course of time. However, all the strength of time cannot hamper the activities of a devotee. For a devotee takes complete shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord. For this reason only, a devotee is free from formidable time. All the activities of the karmis and jnanis, which have no touch of devotion or service, are spoiled in due course of time. The material success of the karmis is destined to be destroyed. Similarly, the impersonal realization attained by the jnanis is also destroyed in the course of time. Aruya krichena parampadam tataha patanti adho anadrita yushmad angrayah. To say nothing of the karmis, the jnanis undergo severe austerities to attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. But because they do not find the lotus feet of the Lord, they fall down again into this material existence unless one is fully situated in unalloyed devotional service. There is no guarantee of liberation, even if one is elevated to the heavenly planets or to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. A devotee's achievement, however, is never lost by the influence of time. Even if a devotee cannot completely execute devotional service, in his next life he begins from the point where he left off. Such an opportunity is not given to karmis and jnanis, whose achievements are destroyed. The bhakta's achievement is never destroyed, for it goes on perpetually, be it complete or incomplete. That is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. Shuchinam shimatam gehe yogo bhrashta bhijayate. If one is unable to complete the process of bhakti yoga, he is given a chance in his next life to take birth in a family, in a pure family of devotees, or in a rich family. In such families, a person can have a good opportunity to further progress in devotional service. When Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, was instructing his assistants, he told them not to approach the devotees. The devotees should be offered respect, he said, but do not go near them. Thus, the devotee of the Lord are not under the jurisdiction of Yamaraj. Yamaraj is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he controls the death of every living entity. Yet he has nothing to do with the devotees. Simply by blinking his eyes, time personified can destroy the entire cosmic manifestation. But he has nothing to do with the devotee. In other words, devotional service, which is rendered by the devotee in this lifetime, can never be destroyed by time. Such spiritual assets remain unchanged, being beyond the influence of time. Okay, so we see here the time factor is it destroys everything actually. So, other than the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So, so you see, temporary achievement is no achievement. Huh? Temporary achievement is actually no achievement. That's what is being explained here. With a blink of his eye, the time factor destroys everything in this material world. The only thing not destroyed is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. The only thing favored is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That's the point. So here is the question being asked. The question is saying that okay, material affairs of course doesn't change much. Yes, we said that. But we see some devotees, they become slack in devotional service. Oh, they focus more on material life. And many times they achieve a lot of success materially. Yeah. So how do we understand the situation or make us understand the situation? You see, the understanding is exactly here. The point is that all this uh, all this material success is not going to last for long. And all this material success is actually not going to last for long. By the blink of his eye, the time factor destroys everything. So, to gain something temporary is not something of value, but what is retained with us is that is something of value, is it not? So even if you have a big number, but it is multiplied by zero, there is no point. There is no value of that number, is it not? Because the multiplication factor is zero. Everything is reduced to dust and powder. So we are not concerned about material affairs. We are not concerned about material high and low. What we are concerned about is state of the heart. What we are concerned about is the satisfaction of the heart. That's the point. The index and the quality of life is what we are concerned about. So we are not talking about the resume. Okay, what is one's CV or resume going to be? Fun practices, devotional service. It doesn't matter because the multiplying factor is zero. We are not concerned about okay, how big will be the building, whether the floor will be cement or it'll be granite. Hmm? Doesn't matter because the multiplying factor is zero. In spite of everything, a person will remain empty. That's that is the point. In spite of everything, the person will remain empty. Therefore, we are concerned about state of the heart. We want to understand the quality of life. We want to go deeper into the heart and see. So the external facilities